What's going on, everyone? I just wanted to stop by real quick before this podcast starts and say you should like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me in all my social medias at John D. Clouser. It's literally the same name as the name that you subscribe to on this YouTube channel. So enjoy this clip, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Say, what's up, Facebook? Country boy shit, man. Say, what's up? Say, what's up, Facebook? Hey, stop all that falling out. Acting like a little baby, falling out.
Welcome to The John Show with your host, John Doogie Clouser.
All right, guys. Hey, we're having a little problem here. Hey, what's going on, guys? What is up? We are here on a new episode of The John Show. This is episode 40, and I'm your host, John D. Clouser. What's going on? So we're here in the hub trying to do a podcast. I'm trying to get my life together. This is pretty much summing up how 2020 has been. So, hey, how are y'all? What's up? So, again, like I said, we're here on episode 40. I'm John D. Clouser. If you are new, I want to say thank you for stopping by and saying hello to this little world that I am creating up here on the third floor of a mansion in Kansas City, Missouri. So, and if you're a returning guest, what's up? Hey, what's up? So anyway, this is what, day like 2,400 of what, COVID? So, we're just here living life. I hope you're doing well, being safe and sound. And so, I was today, it was really interesting. So I was leaving the gym early in the morning, humble brag, of course. And when I was leaving, I was maybe like 5 steps away from my car. And I started pulling out my mask, because I was just going to get back. I'm about to get in my car. There's no need for me to have my mask on in my car. And I heard this lady saying, "Sir, can you, I wear my mask for you. Why can't you wear your mask for me?" And there was no one else around, so I know she was directly, aiming this awful message towards myself. And I'm just like, well, I'm about to get in my car. I don't see. She's like, "You need to wear your mask, please." But what makes it so funny is because we live in Missouri. I do. Not we. I said we as in the sense of like, hey, you're part of me. And so, I live in Missouri, and so like, we're like one of the states that are like completely going up higher and higher, dude. Just freaking crazy. How was it like the whole Denver Broncos quarterbacks, all the whole like from the starter, actually it was like the backup, and then everyone else got sick the next day or got tested positive for it. It's very interesting, dude. Like the cases are definitely going up higher and higher. So wear your mask. I hope you're wearing your mask. I don't know. I hear it helps. So I'm just doing it because those are the smart people. Those are the people that are, the ones that I would look off their papers and stuff. So, you should listen to them. And I, just do what I do because, clearly what I do is correct. But you hear that burp? Do you guys hear that burp? I hope you guys heard it. So we're here. It's like 2:42 in the morning. I don't know what I don't know. Every week, I'm like, John, you're going to do this at a good time, and you're going to get done. It's going to be like 9:30, 10:30, and you're going to have the rest of the night just to hang out, do anything. Instead, I just kind of lazy around because I sit, I'll like go, then I'll like write down the notes of like what I want to talk about. Then I'll check on my phone, look at some videos. Dude, the video this week was hilarious. I remember when I found it, I was sitting in my car. It's like probably the same amount of time. It was like 1:30 in the morning. I was just scrolling, like just searching, just doing what I normally do, finding memes and finding just random videos. If you haven't, this is a small little plug. If you haven't followed me yet on Instagram, you should. Is it John D. Clouser? I do daily memes. But I do daily memes, and then I kind of parachute in my like podcasts that I produce, and I do this, and then my other podcast I do with Aaron Naylor. And but I was sitting there and I was like, holy crap, this is a great video. It was awesome. And I normally don't ever like acknowledge, and that's how good it was, that I never ever acknowledge any of the videos that I find, and I just do because I just find them and I'm like, ah, whatever, and I just post it because I think it's just interesting. I think it's kind of a little taste of something funny. At least I can provide some. I don't know why. Actually, tell you the truth, guys, if we're gonna be honest here, because I have 24 minutes left to kill. I don't know why I do a daily. I do a clip. It really doesn't make any sense, to tell you the truth, because it has really nothing to do, because I don't acknowledge it. Guys, it's taken me up to 40 episodes to realize this crazy little fact of ours little thing that is that I just did it because I thought it was funny. I'm like, this is clever. And I find these videos and I'm like, how am I going to share these? What other way can I do it? And actually, I remember now. So when I started doing this podcast, I started doing this in February because that's when I got laid off from my favorite job. It was weird because I didn't get laid off. We'll put a pin on that. Come back around. So I was doing the solo podcast, right? And I was like, I used to do podcasts with other people. And at this point where I was at, I was kind of like, well, fuck, I'll just do a podcast by myself because I want to do this and I have all this equipment and there's no reason for me not to be doing it. It's one of those things. It's like you have the resources. It's dumb not to be using those resources, and the resources is the equipment and the ability to upload it and promote it in a way. And so that's what it was. And I was always finding all these clips, all these videos, and I'm like, what am I going to do with these? And because I have all these links. I have a page on my phone that's dedicated to just links. And then whenever I'm like bored, and I'm not kidding you, it's probably over 200 links. And I'll just like scroll through and I'll click one. And then once I use that, I'll delete it. And then I'll use it, record it, like screen record it, like send it to myself, and then they'll export it and use it. And, then I put it into a folder, and then I have this huge folder that's like dedicated just to this, like a 250 gigabyte folder. And then like that has all these videos, like little clips on it. And so I just go and I search through it. But that's what I do. That's my way of looking through this stuff. And it's years of just finding memes, back when like memes were just like one of these random little things you would see and you never understood what it meant, but sometimes they were funny. Sometimes they had like some political views. Sometimes they would have just like two random characters from a movie and to say like, when you and your best friend are hanging out, and it's like silly faces. So it's, those things. That was back probably 2013, 14. Yeah, maybe 15 too. Those were like, that's when like memes were starting to build up, because back then like all like Instagram and Twitter was pretty big at that point, but Instagram was just coming together and becoming more of a popular platform. Because I remember when it first came out, and I was kind of like, I'm like, I don't think I'll ever use this. And like I remember getting, because like the girl I was dating at the time, my whole back popped there. The girl I was dating at the time, she was like, she got one, and I'm like, this is silly. This seems like something that like for fake photographers, because like I was just taking pictures all the time, but I was never uploading on anything. I had no platform. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything like that. So I had all these hundreds of pictures, and then I just never had anything to do with it. I didn't do anything with them. I just kind of sat them there, and like still today, like I have a lot of pictures that I have. I'm like, why don't I ever use it? Why don't I ever like show these ones off? Like today, if you check on my Instagram, this is another little plug back into it, but I was doing I'm really into a lot of long exposure night photography lately. So like this time right now is a perfect time, because it's like everything's super settled. It's almost like the waves of the day have completely calmed and the night is fully intact. And I love taking pictures at this time, and this is usually what I'm doing whenever I'm not doing this whole podcasting stuff. I'm usually taking pictures or doing little like videos and stuff. But doing this like nighttime, like long exposure has been really cool. But what's really hard about it is that it's not normal. Like, if you're recording like video, like on your iPhone, you can see what you're seeing. On this, it's completely like black. So you have to hold exposure hold it, and hope you're like in focus, because the thing is like you can't do autofocus because the camera doesn't know what you want it to focus on. So it's trying to keep the background in focus where the stars are, and it's trying to pick up like if you were like doing it in front of a house. So if you have a house, this like the sky and the stars, what you want to do is you want to have a long exposure for the shot, but you want to be able to have in focus the lights, because what's really important is getting the stars, because you want it to look like what it looks like in your eye. So you're going to hold it out like maybe like 15-20 seconds. But the thing is, like, you have to take a shot, hold it for a second, the 15-20 seconds, look, it might be blurry, so you have to just gradually put it in focus. So it takes a good amount of time. It can take you up, especially if you're really anal, and if it depends on what kind of lens you're using, what you're trying to do, because you might be trying to get a certain angle of like a tree branch with the stars, and maybe there might be some clouds, and you're able to get like the clouds if you hold it for an extra 30 seconds. So you do 30-second exposure, look at it, it's completely blurry. 2 shots at the minute, like 18 minutes, like 18 shots later, like it's like, okay, you can see how like it can gradually build up time to finally get what you want to get. But then once you get it, it's so much fun. That, and then what I love to do too is I like to take my long lenses. So I'll take like an 80 to 155 lens, and I'll zoom it all the way out, and I do a long exposure, and I'll just like do like cars going, and then like it causes that like long streak, because like what's happening is like the light's going through the whole lens, and then so it has like this whole stretch effect to it. It's really fun to do as well. I used to do that a lot more, but I'm not really much in that, because it was like when I first started getting to nighttime photography, because it's completely different than doing normal day photography, because you just have to do like this. Like I'm mimicking daylight right now at 500 Kelvin. No, 5,000 Kelvin. That's what it is. 5,000 Kelvin. And that's like pure daylight. And doing that just is like, boom, like I'm doing this at 2:30 in the morning. And like I was talking to one of my friends, and she's like, she's really into photography too, and she's like, what's cool about yours, I guess is a little humble brag, is that like it looks like you're shooting it all daylight. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's just because I have like overpower it with like lights. I almost try to make it as almost as but as like cinematic as possible. And then like I started incorporating like the 2 black lines like on top and bottom, because I in my opinion, I think it makes it look more cinematic. Like I'm shooting it with not that I'm shooting with a better camera, but I'm shooting it with like a more precise, exact look that I want. I'm like, I want you to look here, instead of like being able to see more of around in a lot of headspace, because there's like no need for it for what I'm doing. Like the headspace, because sometimes when you're shooting, there's a certain way you frame it, and the framing is to express a feeling or a sort of reasoning of the story. So sometimes like a character might have his head cut off more. I'm just using this example of what you do, not as if it's ever been used, but you might have him head his like some shots, like you only see him, you never see his full head, but everyone else is like a little bit shorter, so it might show that he's taller than everyone. So it could be an example of like he's like the antagonist, and he has this power over everybody, of like, because he just seems like a bigger aura, things like that. Something silly. Don't you love that? This is what's great, that I normally have like my bubblies, but I completely ran out of them, and so now I'm like drinking out of my jug of water. And normally when I drink my jug out of water, this is what happens, because I'm closer to the 32 years old. I should start saying I'm 32, but I technically have like a month and like 3 days or something like that. Because yeah, when December 1st happens, then technically, government wise, I turned 32 on January 1st, which is gonna be pretty crazy. It's been an interesting year. Like 31. I remember when I turned 31, and it was January 1st, and I'm like, you know what? This is it. I'm gonna get it done. This is gonna be the year of where I'm gonna get my shit. Like I guess my shit's okay. Like I'm fine. Like I'm not in a terrible spot at all in my life. Like I feel like I'm doing pretty well for who I am and what I'm doing. Like I have health insurance, I have dental, I have vision. I have a decent job that pays me pretty good money, for who I am, like for my means. Like I'm not living outside of it. I'm just living pretty chill. And I'm like, okay, I'm like doing decent. But like, I'm like, okay, like, I'm like, now it's John, like, you've been doing this film stuff for a long time. You've been there. You've gotten little hits. You've gotten little sparks here or there. You've had people look at your writing and they're like, you know what? Hey, you're decent. Like you're shockingly a lot better than what we think you'd be, which is always what people say. Like we're a little bit more impressed than what we thought you would be. I'm like, which is granted, which is fair because I know what I look like. I know I'm a bro looking guy that you wouldn't think that I do art. You wouldn't think I do podcasting. You wouldn't think I would sit down every day and try to write. Well, I write 6 out of 7 days. I take technically be like Sunday off, like especially during football season. I usually take Sunday off, but I will jot some things down. So going into Monday when I write for an hour, I'm good. And the thing is, like, you don't have it doesn't have to be a story. Like when you do these things, you can just do it, just to, like, write and jot some things down. Like today, like I came up with a joke, and I'll tell you the joke here in a second. But I came up with a joke, and then what I did was then I kind of like just sat there and I wrote it down. I problem shot. I'm like, okay, I need to relate this with this. Try to bring this with this. Maybe if I can like make like a pun, or if I can like bring back a hat on a hat, which like I'll bring the punchline with the rest of the story. Like I'll bring in like something that's like was said maybe like 2 beats before, and then the third beat, which was the punchline, will equal up because it's related with one, or like it's related to one or two. So it can like, kind of like, or you do hat on hat in the sense of like one, it rhymes with one. So I'll tell you the joke. So the joke was pretty much, and this is just a funny thing. So please no one get offended to this. So I'm just going to say it. So like what I think, something that annoys the hell out of me though, it's really hilarious, is like something that annoys me is that like church going white people need to stop going to like third world countries like Honduras or like El Salvador and taking pictures with like the poor little brown kids, because what it does is, what it looks like is that you're taking my people and you are making them seem like they're part of like a camping trip excursion that you went on. And and the thing is, like, it'd be different. It really would be different if like we had like cool white people that would come, like Alex Trebek or like Larry Bird. But instead, what we do is, what we end up getting is like people like Sarah, who's like, can you believe that they have rice and beans with every meal? Is that like loco? And like the thing is, the reason why we do that is because we are. It's delicious. It's great. It's like like it's delicious things to eat. And the thing is, like, you make it seem like how church people, like, they'll drink like a little sip of grape juice and they'll like bite a piece of cracker that's supposed to bring them closer to Jesus. Like how that's eating crazier than what we do by eating beans and rice at this, with every meal, no big deal. But the thing is, like, the whole thing about that joke is that, I'm trying to relate so the whole thing is like, like, it's annoying that like, white people come and make this excursion. And to be different, if it was like cool white people, this is kind of for me, I'm just using it as a build up to the punchline. This is kind of like, here's an example of like, white people I think would be cool to come. These would be cool people to like, for us to see. And, just to make a joke, just kind of understand, like, hey, I'm on the same side as you. Like, I know what I said was super sharp about, like church going white people. Like, I realize that. But now I'm like, saying like, oh, but if you had Larry Bird or, Alex Trebek, like, because who wouldn't want to meet these people? If you just randomly met them, like, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, it would be a cool story. And then it moves on to like, this Sarah girl and how she says that, they eat, rice and beans with every meal. Is very loco. So it's supposed to be like, kind of funny, the fact that like, oh, she's a white girl saying, something in Spanish, ha ha ha. And then going to how, drinking juice and eating a cracker is like any weirder than like what we do. It's the same thing, like taking two cultures and bringing them together and seeing like the weirdness in both. Because it is kind of weird that people eat rice and beans with every. It is because like I remember everywhere I go I go to Honduras, same thing. I go to Guatemala, same thing. Been to Costa Rica, same thing. Rice and beans, and I'm like I don't mind. But like my friends are like, dude, how can you do this? I'm like I don't know. I just do. It's just this is what we do every meal, and you'll have some meat, and you'll have what else do you have? You have plantains. Like Honduras, we have. Oh, it's so great, and they taste like fries. They taste like fries, and you just take ketchup. You can take ketchup, and what I like to do is like take a bunch of hot sauce, take some ketchup, blend it together, take it together, and just eat that with the plantains. It's some good stuff, but like but that's how I like. That's something random I wrote today. Will I ever use it? Probably not. Well, is it something kind of maybe might be humorous? It's maybe it's used for this podcast and just used for an example of like what I do as, I don't know, as a writer or I hate saying that shit because I'm like nothing's been published yet. And I can't say I'm a writer until like something's been published. As someone who's an enthusiast of doing it and is aspiring to try to be published, that's something I do. That's like an exercise. I'm just like try to write something funny, and it's not like you're ever going to use it, but it's something that you use wordage and you're able to you connect things like a puzzle. And it's just, I'm super afraid, especially because I played a lot of football and I slammed my head into other people's bodies for many years, that a little bit of me is like afraid that like I'm afraid that like my brain will get dull because of like doing that. It's just like impact. That's just long-term impact of something like that is going to cause some sort of, it's going to dim the light a little bit. So like, I'm like, one of the big things I'm like, okay, if I can just like write and do like that kind of stuff, I feel like that's going to keep my brain sharp. And it's just like, just it's like anything, like, you don't have to do a bunch of weight to like just do like have nice arms, just do over and over again, just like lightweight and it's just small little things. And I'll do 2 or 3 of those in a day now. Like, but when I first started doing it several years ago, I've been doing this especially when I went to college, I went to film school. So I'm like, you know what? I think it's important that I do this. Like, I thought it was just part of the system, like what you have to do if you want to be somewhat successful, or you want to if you want to at least be taking swings at trying to be successful as a storyteller. That's like really the base. That's like, I think what I'm trying to do. And the thing is, like, I feel like I'm just trying to be like, not be over like stating what I'm doing, not overstating. What would be the best way of saying it? It's like just the fact that I'm like, I think I'm cocky at this, because I don't I don't think I'm cocky at this. Like, I've had little small breaks and I've had lucks at here and there, like, being assistant to someone who's high up in a company or in a film company, or just like being able to work on like reality television sets, like. And it's just like weird things. And, then this past job I got, I was associate producer for a film company, and being able to have these jobs, it's just like, they come and they go sometimes. But I've never, because that's how the film world works. It's like, this is the one most unstable jobs to ever choose, is this. And like, but I like trying to tell stories, and I've always been like, I want to at least try to make something that is like set in stone. And that's the reason why I've always wanted to try to get something written. And so like I do little things like that, because I feel like that's what you have to do. Because I'm learning every day by day, as much as everyone else is, how to live their life and how to live and try to do this or that, try to be the CEO of a company, because you don't know. You might be right now, as cliche as it is, you might be someone who's just, doing PA work for them, just getting coffees and making copies, stapling stuff together, getting things ready. And that might be what you're doing. And this, like what I say, like this podcast is just something that I need to be doing if I want to be successful, because I feel like it can only help Like, how is this not going to help? I'm 40 episodes in talking. Like, basically, I talked about 2 of the, like, 18 things I wrote down, and it's really not that big of a deal. And I have, like, 4.5 minutes left in this podcast. And it's just talking, just getting it out. And I was, like, always, like, it's so funny because, like, I remember sitting in my car, like, before this podcast, and I'm like, John, you're really procrastinating the shit out of this. And it's like, like, there was that moment when I was like, when you get done with this podcast, there's a sense of euphoria, and you're gonna be like, fuck yeah, dude, I finished this. And it was something that, like, not everyone, there's people that think about doing it, but you actually went ahead and did it, and you're 40 episodes in, and, like, you have a lot to learn, and there's so much more shit I need to get done. I've been so goddamn lazy with this. Like, I need to put this, like, on iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff, and just, I don't know why I'm such a doofus and not just do it. I don't know why. It's just almost like it's going to take more than 10 minutes. So I just don't want to do it. It's funny. Like, that's, like, the one thing. Like, I'm, like, so strict in, like, working out. I love making my bed. I'm really strict on making my bed. Brushing my teeth, like, twice a day, flossing every day. What else? Like, what I say, working out, like, eating, like, right, like, having my meals hitting, like, what I want with my food intake. But there's always this one little thing, and that's, like, my little hurdle right now, my big my Mount Everest, you could call my plantain Mount Everest. Or I don't know, I'm like, it's always fun for me trying to think of the titles for the things, because I take up, like, I'll take. So I'll be like, I talked about biscuits, rabbits, and, like, a rainbow, and I'll try to use those words, and I'll try to make that up into a title. So I'll, like, put the words around. So, like, I'll use, like, biscuits, rainbow, and then, like, whatever, what I say, gopher, or whatever the animal I said, and then try to do that, and I just, like, flip them around and see if I can make them sound weird. It's another little trick you can do. It's fun. Rules of 3. I don't go crazy. You don't need a lot of examples. Just rules of 3. That's one of the greatest things ever made. And, like, our brains are really captive, and we've been trained over time that, like, the rule of 3 is it's a easy way to, like, get your, like, a point across for people, and especially with telling a story, because it's like, like, boom, boom, boom. You just, like, stake a little bit higher, then, like, boom, and then you kind of go, like, because, you just tell when you're telling the story. But, hey, like, so we have, like, 2 minutes left. If you guys gotten this far, man, holy shit. It's like I blacked out and I just talked for, like, 27 minutes. Yeah, you should like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for stopping by. I have this camera, like, I absolutely adore this camera so much. It's going to be hanging out more. I got it at a garage sale. It's like it's a German camera. It was, like, made in 1950s, I believe. It's like at the time, it was like a $200 camera, US dollars. I got it for, like, $5, $10, something like that. I can't remember exactly. I knew it was under $20 because I remember I gave her a 20 and she gave me some change back. And that's all I remember of the exchange. But I was like, dude, I don't think she knows what she had. I was like, this is so cool. But yeah, it's just a little German camera. I don't know how. I would love to be able to shoot on it, but I think it has to have, like, I'm pretty sure there's a thing that connects here, and it's going to have, that's what does the shutter. There's, like, a little button, and that's what you have to have, and it's probably old, and, like, it's going to be hard to find. But, yeah, I have, like, 45 seconds left, so like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, and I'll see you guys on the next episode, episode 41, and we'll keep this going. All right, well, be safe. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. I don't know what people do these days. I just hope that we can all just love each other and give each other hugs. But don't give each other hugs because of COVID. Wear a mask. If you don't, just be safe. Do what you need to do. Be as safe as what makes you feel safe. How's that? I think that's a great way to end this podcast. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. I love you, Dad. Bye.